The National Council of Provinces will this week hold a 3-day review and planning session for its committees, and that starts tomorrow. One of the objectives of this session is to assess the work of the committees as well as take stock of the work of the 6th Parliament. Now, the NCOP says that its select committees, which carry the same task as those of portfolio committees in the National Assembly, are at the centre of the implementation of the mandate of the National Council of Provinces. Therefore, as Parliament will be engaging with the Zondo Reports on state capture, it needs to ensure that its oversight role is strengthened as well as capacitated to deal with the issues of corruption. House chairperson for the NCOP committees, Jomo Nyambi, joins us now to explain this process, what it entails and what it has achieved previously. Mr. Nyambi, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning to you, Sisakina. Morning to viewers at home.
So let's first just start by outlining the purpose of this particular process. And of course, one of the things you'll be looking into is, of course, to check on progress from previous years. But let's explain and take our listeners along this journey of what exactly you will be doing this week.
The National Council of Provinces, it's a house that represents the interest of provinces. And of course, in terms of numbers, we are having 54 permanent members, and we've got committees, select committees that are clustered. So we've decided that this week, as we're almost halfway through the 6th administration of Parliament, so we're reviewing what we have done from the beginning of the 6th administration up to this far, and making sure that we align with what is happening in the country and what has been presented by President in terms of SONA. And of course, you'll remember that last week it was the Minister of Finance presenting the budget, and all of those things are coming handy to assist the select committees of National Council of Provinces and inviting the relevant stakeholders, part of the NCOP SALGA representative, because you'll know that we've got a lot of challenges in different municipalities in our country.
So how do you keep track of your achievements and in terms of whether you have adequately performed your oversight role? Do you have, a checklist that you are ticking off against to see whether the objectives of the administration have in fact been met?
We always keep track by making sure that at all times we go through whatever that we have agreed that it will be part of those that will be our achievement as the National Council of Provinces. And you'll remember that not so long ago, towards the end of last year, in the mid of the COVID-19 facing the world and South Africa, we decided to extend an invitation to have outside people, academics, media people, to look at what we said we're going to be doing in this 6th administration and checking that whatever that we have achieved. And that is assisting us to be in line. And we've got the independent parliamentary budget office that are giving that professional advice, and a team of efficient, reliable researchers that are assisting us to be able to be equal to the task as a unique house that has got a different mandate compared to what is being done by the National Assembly. And now, this week, we are doing that assessment where there are some weaknesses led by the Chair, Zondo, and the Deputy Chair and the Chief Whip, so that we make sure that whatever that is still lagging behind, it has to be attended properly, because we're almost halfway through. And that will assist us to know that all the clustered selected committees are doing as per the mandate and the Constitution.
Now, if we look at what has gone previously, when we talk about the select committees, the NCOP in its select committees, as you've pointed out, the work that needs to be done, which has, of course, the same role as the portfolio committees in the National Assembly. These are at the centre of the implementation of the mandate of the NCOP. But if we go to the Zondo Commission as an example, Mr. Nyambi, you've got two senior parliamentarians, former parliamentarians, MPs Vincent Smith and Dikeledi Makadzi, and they revealed during examination at the Zondo Commission that the committees don't really have the powers that we think they do despite the mandate given to it by the Constitution. So what is your view on that? And how does that impact the work that has to be done?
You are quite correct, but it's not necessary that the committees don't have the powers. The committees do have the powers, but it's weaknesses that we have in terms of performance of different committees. And of course, it's part of the weaknesses that has been identified. And we are looking forward to the final report that will assist us at the National Council of Provinces so that we can be able to do justice to those issues that will be coming from the Zondo Commission. You'll remember, Sesakina, that even the chair of the NCOP and the speaker then went to the commission to present what we have done. And I think the third report will be dealing with the issue of oversight, the role of the parliament. And when talking about parliament, in the true sense of it, we're talking about both National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly. So I will argue that it's not an issue of committees not having powers, but it's the issue of weaknesses that has to be addressed. That is why in the review process, we have to attend such issues where you see that you have some committees that are lagging behind. They are not doing as per the mandate and empowered by the Constitution, because I can't come here and present a view that says I was disempowered, yet to have all the rules. I have the Constitution on my side that is assisting me to make sure that I make executive state-owned entities to account. And if there were some weaknesses, I must accept and improve on that, not to hide and say maybe it's an issue of us not having the power.
So to that point, Mr. Nyambi, in the annual review process, the NCOP then compiles a list of lessons learned from the previous year as an example that would assist you, of course, in forward planning, etc. So in terms of getting Parliament to work better, from what has come out of the previous year, out of the Zondo Commission, just give us some examples of what last year's review process showed and how this exercise has actually helped you, giving practical examples for what to implement this time around.
The first thing is the issue of signage, avoiding a duplication and appear as if were the portfolio committees, because we are not, and our mandate is totally different. The Constitution is very clear. It's part of the issue that come out very clearly that when working with our colleagues in the National Assembly, there are things that can assist us instead of doing so much of a repetition. I'll cite the issue of the Auditor General. In the past, we used to invite Auditor General to come to portfolio committees in the National Assembly. The following week, it's NCOP doing the very same thing. Because of the signage, we have decided to be efficient and economic in how we do things. We come together as all the committees in Parliament, invite Auditor General to come and do presentation in one day, and that is assisting and is going a long way to make sure that we maximize out of the little resources that we are having. The second issue is the judgment, the Lamusa judgment. You'll remember some years back, there was a judgment that was dealing with the issue of public participation, especially when dealing with legislation. And out of that, we have mastered it now that no bill or nothing can be done, because the core mandate of Parliament and NCOP, it's oversight, it's public participation, it's lawmaking. No bill will be entertained in the National Council of Provinces without making it a point that there is enough public participation, because the public must inform whatever that will be coming out in the National Council of Provinces. And from time to time, we always make sure that we empower our members to have correct researchers, assist the chairpersons to understand their role, so that the very same issue that you raised about what was presented by Honorable Dikeleti about the weaknesses, so that we don't have a repetition. And the gender-based violence bill that is now made to be law by President, it's part of the lesson that we have learned and how we have to do things differently, because time is not on our side. And if you look at the challenges, and of course, nothing can be possible if we don't provide the necessary tools of trade to committees of the National Council of Provinces and to committees of Parliament. That is why we've got a specific item where the acting secretary, Mechawa, will be dealing with that item so that she can be able to assist members to understand that what is it that can be provided to assist them and what is it that can be provided to members of parliament.
With regard to the public's access to parliament and parliamentary processes, where are we at with that?
I will say there's still serious room for improvement because when working with different provinces and working with SALGA and going around the country, whether we're doing the flagship program of parliament that we call Oversight Week that we'll be having soon, or the provincial week, we do the proper interaction with the public. And and we have decided to have an office that is assisting and a team of researchers that will always guide and say, in doing this thing, they are not convinced that we have involved the public. There's a voice of the public because we're not representing our jacket. Of course, it's us as members of the National Council of Provinces, as members of National Assembly, members of Parliament. But every time, whenever we're dealing with legislation, working with yourself, as we're doing now, and if there are people following what we're discussing, there are people that will have some different views, and that will assist us so that where we see some gaps and some serious weaknesses, we have to improve. But I can say, if you can watch the space out of the third report, once we have all the report, that will be coming from the Zondo Commission, Parliament will be having a clear role, and we don't want to be found wanting when we are having a consolidated report and where there is a role that we have to play as we have made our own presentation to that commission.
With regard to the issue of accountability, and I'm always curious, Mr. Nyambi, when it comes to the oversight role. So what form does this take? Because when you, for example, go to, let's say, municipality A in, whatever province, what sort of form does that oversight role actually take? Because very often when one sees the dilapidated state of infrastructure, the absolute ruin in which some municipalities find themselves in, do you get to see that with us for the first time, or are these things usually visible to you when you perform your oversight role?
They're visible, even though sometimes you'll have those that will try to hide the reality of the situation. That is why when we started the sixth administration, we took a conscious decision that we want to have meaningful time that will be spent on the ground instead of being in air conditions in Parliament, so that we get a sense of the situation on the ground. And of course, working with you as in media, there are some instances where you will assist us to get information that the case of Eastern Cape, when there with the flagship of NCOP called Taking Parliament to the People. When we're there, we were surprised when we got the challenges of pit toilet, the early childhood development centers challenges. And we raised that, we compiled a report, and we even organized for a sitting so that we can raise sharply with the relevant executive authorities right from in the province and at national level. And the third thing that happened is that when some of the issues were to be attended, then a poor learner died in that situation. And to us, it was not a surprise, even though it was an unfortunate situation. But it's part of the issues that we picked when we go to the ground doing the interaction. And from time to time, we always rely, of course, to yourself as you always assist whenever you pick some of the things. But once you get a report, as and when there was a committee of parliament that went to a municipality, you would always see that all issues that are relevant are raised sharply, irrespective of political affiliation. Committees will speak with one voice and raise challenges that needs to be attended so that we assist our people. And we know what is facing the country. We know the issue of inequality. We know the issue of unemployment. We know the issue of poverty. And we've been to these places. And we know the state of our roads in the country. And that is why, if you have followed and listened to the debate on SONA, part of what was coming from members, it's exactly what we're discussing with you now and where you have the interest, because even if you are representing a media, but you are part of these communities, you understand the challenges that they face on a daily basis, in as much as we do the same as members of parliament.
So just finally, Mr. Nyambi, because we're out of time, it comes back to the issue of accountability, because it's easy to appreciate that we have great laws in this country. It's easy to appreciate the systems and processes that exist. But what becomes a dichotomy is how these systems are then bungled with seemingly no accountability by those who are responsible for running down these municipalities. How do you respond to that?
We are working with SALGA, working with the leader of government and business, working with the executive, naming and shaming, and writing relevant questions to the relevant executive authorities, so that we don't do cover-ups, because it's high time that those that are not equal to the task are exposed. Because what's the use of saying we want people to account, yet at the end of the day they are going to be protected? And we have to do it without fear or favor, and at all times making sure that the very same people that we are representing are enjoying the benefits of the democracy we are in. But there's still room for improvement. That is why what will be happening this week, when there are some breakaway sessions, things will be done differently, and it won't be business as usual. And we are happy for the opportunity getting to engage you and assist us, so that we look at what we have done up to this far and what can be done moving forward. But of course, we will be after those that are having some serious limitations and weaknesses.
Well, we look forward to following up on that. Thanks so much for your time this morning. House Chairperson for the National Council of Provinces Committees, Jomo Nyambi, discussing the NCOP's 3-day review to be undertaken to look into the House rules, bills, laws, and all of the work related to its constitutional mandate.